We live in a world of threes, top, middle and bottom, left, right and centre, the three musketeers, the three little pigs. But how radical were the three musketeers really until they hooked up with D'Artagnan? What would the three little pigs be without the wolf, the classic anti-hero? Would we even know about the three bears? I don't know if they were little. 3 bears. One was little, wasn't he? 3 bears if Goldilocks hadn't gone on the rob for their porridge. We are on the dawn of a new age, where 4, it's the magic number. This is the age of the 4th industrial revolution, and we are heading into economics 4.0. It's time for a 4th way. So this is the basic premise behind 4th way thinking. Actually, we're stuck in this binary system at the moment. We've seen this in really sharp focus in recent years with the yes, no, in, out. We all know about the in, out referenda. And this is the key binary which underpins it, economic and social. And the way that this is characterized in economics a lot of the time is that everything that's about business, innovation, science, money is on this side, and everything else is dismissed as being beyond economics. It exists outside of that. So it's this economic, social polarity that's been set up. And currently we have a lot of movement and activity in this middle bit. So very often now you hear these terms, placemaking, community development, regeneration. More often than not, as per that arrow, it goes that way. So still this is very dominant, this like right side of fiscal economics is very, very dominant in these. And there's a lot of activity, as I say, and a lot of it is being sold by consultants and think tanks. And so you get these things like inclusive growth, good work, universal credit, always a popular one, community wealth building. And what that does is take one bit from this side and one bit from that side and kind of skew them together. But what you get when you do that, putting a plus and a minus together, is get nothing right. It nullifies both of them, and you get like this toothless consensus in the middle. All very abstract terms, community development. In that, is the community being developed or is it doing the developing? Who knows? It's not clear. So this is, well, actually there's a political school of thought around that as well called third way thinking, which came under prevalence in Tony Blair's time. But as I say, it's time for a 4th way. So 4th way thinking rejects both the left side and the right side and this, as I say, toothless consensus of the middle, and instead adopts a human and connected view of thinking, and a particularly connected view of the economy and of economic thinking. It's a human vision for where we might take our economics as we go forward. And it's the fourth in this series of schools of thought, if anyone's familiar with economics, which started with state-centric, then free market, socio-economics latterly, and now we're just on the cusp of what Otto Scharmer in MIT in Boston, who's brilliant, calls ecosystem economics. So this ecosystem economics is characterized by an awareness of the role of the individual in global economics, in the global system, and also by an idea of connectivity and how people are connected to economic systems. So currently there is a real frustration amongst economists and amongst all of us, I think, about the systemic failure and the limitations of the current system to reflect this new age that we're moving into. And from an economics perspective, a lot of that is around how we measure economic success and economic growth. Ecosystem economics is a post-growth world. And so this is our opportunity to rethink what we view as economic success and what we mean by growth as well. A lot of the systems that underpin that basic economic form as well have limitations to them, so education and skills. A lot of the time, events in universities, right, are geared towards skills and jobs in the labour market, not to human development. So I think kudos to the organisers of this and other TEDx in universities for changing that. What's happening there is that we're going into this economics 4.0, but we've still got the systemic skills structure of the first industrial revolution, right? So I don't know, when I said we're going into the fourth industrial revolution, I bet you all remembered the steam and the mills and everything, the first one, but maybe a bit shaky on the second and third ones, right? And here we are, and this is the fourth. Now the fourth one, innovation. People think about innovation as IT, as science, and think about skills as digital skills. But actually, this is the World Economic Forum top 10 skills for 2020. And actually, it's the top 10 skills for digital jobs in 2020 as well. The top 4, because I like to think in 4s, complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people management, all innately human skills. So more and more from an economic perspective, we are acknowledging that there is this need for collaboration, for human connection. And there's great work going on at the moment by a professor called Mariana Mazzucato and former colleagues of mine. I used to work at the Royal Society of Arts, and they are developing ideas around mission-oriented economies, or oriented, who knows, mission economies anyway. And that idea is that we work across boundaries and we collaborate towards creating movements. So I should say at this juncture, by the way, right, I'm not a trained economist at all. I did my 2 degrees were in English literature. So I'm more likely to write you a poem than write you a forecast, right? And you only really need to look at my bank account to know that I'm not a numbers woman either. But this isn't just me who's expressing this frustration with how economics is measured, with productivity, with GDP as the measure of productivity. It's a globally recognised problem. So to the extent that last year, an investment bank called Letter One, in partnership with Goldman Sachs and World Bank and other very, left-wing social organisations like that, put out a competition. They created a global competition to find an alternative to GDP. This is me presenting some of my thoughts on how we might go about that at the University of Salford. So I'm doing a PhD there at the moment, and I was at this conference was the day before the competition deadline, right? So a lot of these are my Italian colleagues, and I love this picture because it shows you just how engaging and interesting economics can be. If you look at all the panel members, right? One of my colleagues is chugging the largest cup of coffee that I've ever seen. These guys are holding themselves awake. This guy, and then there's me. Anyway, so that was the day before this economics deadline was due in. So I don't know if there's any academic colleagues in the audience as well, but when you have colleagues over from Italy in this case, you have to take them out and show them a bit of the town, right? So this, woo, very loud. That was my colleague dancing on the tables in the nighttime. And that is my Fitbit. So at 4 a.m, I'd already completed 10,000 steps, which I think is conclusive proof that dancing on tables with wild Italians is really good for your health, right? Now the deadline is 6 o'clock in the night for this global economics competition, right? So at 8 o'clock the next morning, I'm on the phone to my mum. I'm sitting in my house coat and I'm covered in hangover food or whatever. And I'm like, Mum, this economics competition's got to be in tonight and all this. Anyway, I do it, right? Classic. 17:59, time stamped, in. Brilliant. And then a couple of weeks later, in a competition, they announced the results. And in the competition, number 1 was the University of Manchester economics team. Number 2 was the University of Cambridge economics team. Number 6 was Clare Devaney and non-economist solo hungover ideas around economics, right? So, sorry. This is what I put forward. This is the Nobel Prize. And what I'd like to do now is to have a bit of audience participation. Now, I know you might grimace saying that, but and the cameraman's actually just stood up oh, cameraman participation as well. But I actually sang the last time I did this, so you're really lucky because I'm not singing, but you're going to participate instead. So what I'd like to do is the first 2 rows, like the posh seats, yeah, you guys, can be place. And then the next 2 rows can be individuals. The next 2 rows can be collective. The next 2 rows collaborative. And then the back row will global sustainability goals. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, so we're going to do an economics Mexican wave, right? So we're going to start with place and then go through to the back. So first 2 rows first. Go, place. Individuals. Collective. Collaborative. Global sustainability goals. Yay. Individuals. Oh no, individuals. Place. Individuals. Yeah, global sustainability goals. Woo! Okay, so what I'm trying to describe here is that this is a connected system of economic measurement, and what I have tried to express is how place and individuals respond to each other, and then how through this 4-tier system of individual contribution, collective contribution, collaborative contribution, and then creating a movement, we can put a line through to how you can both contribute to place as an individual, how it can contribute to you, and how you then can contribute as an individual to global sustainability goals, right? So if Sam Riley was talking about cultural icons before, one of my cultural icons is Sam Riley, right? Because what Sam Riley did was he got his 1 chair as an individual, then he got his Tom on his little stick, right, and formed a collective. And then they collaborate with the people from other cities, including me. So I was in the first commemorations, and they've created a movement around that. So and Adam and Simon and the guys who've put this TEDx on today as well, you know, individual contribution to what's going on in a global movement. Round of applause for Adam and the guys. I don't know if anyone's done that yet. Yeah. So in Manchester, we're testing out some of this thinking with a citizen-led collective called M4. And as you can see there, that brings together three areas of thinking, feeling, and doing. So we have an impact hub in Manchester, which is around social impact. We research that through the citizen-led think tank. And then there's capacity building as well. So that is about whole self-development. And again, it's about getting people to think about how they respond as an individual to the economic structure and global economic systems. So now I want you to do another exercise, and you've got to trust me because I want you to close your eyes. There's no movement. I kind of heard a groan then from somewhere. It wasn't you, Sam, was it? So close your eyes for a minute, right? Work with me. Think about yourself as an individual and how connected you feel to yourself right now as an individual. How connected you feel to Chester? How connected you feel to the people next to you in this room? How connected you feel to the University of Chester, to Chester as a place, to the culture of Chester, the society of Chester, the space of Chester? And what do you do? What can you do as an individual to contribute to global sustainability goals? Okay, you can open your eyes now. Have you ever felt that connected to economics before? Right. I've got a postscript to add about the competition, the global competition. So the top 10 entries got published in a beautiful journal, lovely form, very nice, very rich. Obviously, they've got quite a lot of money between them, the World Bank, Goldman Sachs, and Letter One and others. And they sent out 3 copies to everyone. And yes, they didn't put a stamp on it. So the World Bank didn't pay their postage on my journal entry that they sent me. And I had to pay £3 to collect it. Right? That's economics 101, never mind, 4.0. A £3 fine. It's time for a 4th way. Thanks very much.